Raheem Sterling, and I know the FA put a statement out, but how is he? How has he coped with the attention that he's had over the tattoo this week?
Well, Raheem's a very strong character, so he's focused on his football. I've had, good, deep conversation with him just to see exactly how he was with everything. But he knows he's got our support. He understands how some people have perceived the tattoo, but in my view, a tattoo is like any work of art. It's a very individual meaning. The intent is all with the individual and with the person, and what has been clear from his own statement and his own experience is that he's not somebody that supports or wants to promote guns in the way that was perceived at first. So something that he's had to get on with this week, but as I say, he's a very strong individual and he's looking forward to the game.
It's a timely reminder of perhaps what a tough life he had when he was a youngster. To get from there to where he is now, what does that say about him in your eyes?
Well, I think the personal story of a lot of our players is quite remarkable, and people often highlight the issues, the faults of all of the squad, but for so many of them it's incredible that they've got to the point they have, and they are a great example to young kids of what you can achieve with your life if you are dedicated, if you are focused. Of course they have talent, but there's so much more that is needed to become a professional and to become a top professional. So Raheem in particular embodies that, because nothing is given to you in life, and you have to fight all the way.
Change of tack, Phil Jones isn't with you. What news from him and his partner?
None at present, but obviously we're looking forward to some good news in the next couple of days, and important for him to be there. I think family is, we talk about the importance of football, but family has to come first. Sometimes we don't realise that until you have difficulties as a family, but this all being well will be a lovely story, and it'd be great that he's there.
It's been inconvenient for your planning all these babies though, isn't it? Because Fabian Del's due, I think, sort of around the Belgian game as well, his wife, is that right?
I'm glad you put his wife, yeah. Well, it's not an inconvenience, it's part of life, and it's a brilliant part of our group's experience over the next months, A couple of boys have got engaged. We've got a couple of guys who are going to be fathers, either for the first time or again. So that's all great things for us to celebrate as a group, and they're the shared stories that make us closer.
Can we take it because Jesse Lingard's sitting next to you that he's going to start tomorrow?
No, he just wanted to come. He loves talking to the media so much. He thought he'd come and enjoy the experience. Yeah, no, he's playing tomorrow.
Do you see it as him or Dele Alli in the team, or can they play together in your eyes?
No, I don't see it as a straight contest between any individuals, really. Absolutely, they could play together. Jesse is all of our attacking players, whether that's from midfield, wide, forwards, they all have different attributes and different strengths. Jesse is a fantastic player at recognising space, working away from the ball, great link between midfield and attack, gets between the lines brilliantly, intelligent. We have worked with him for a long time. We've had belief in him, done bloody well for him really, but I saw him on loan at Birmingham. I can remember going to watch him at Leeds, and he hardly got a kick, but that was because his teammates couldn't see the moves and the runs he was making. His performance was so intelligent, but he was operating on a different thinking level to the rest of the team on that day, but I saw enough within that to know how he would fit into our way of playing, and we played him in our first game against Malta, and I'd have to say every time he's come into games or started games, he's been excellent for us. So he's had a super season. I think if there's been a question mark over the last couple of years, it's been, was he going to convert what we see with his finishing in training into matches? And this year he's done that. So it's a really good moment for him.
Final one from me, if that's okay. Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard both taking jobs, fledgling managers, part of that golden generation. You've done it, you've been there, you've done it. You've played with both of them as well for England. What advice would you give them at this stage in their careers?
Not so much advice. They both know if they ever want to speak about anything, then I'm more than happy. They're two really good characters, and in particular, it's great to see two lads that I think have a lot to offer the game stay in the game. There's an easier route to go, but they haven't taken that, and that takes some. That's brave. Both of them could, I'm sure, have a far more comfortable life, but maybe not as fulfilling. And I think they're going to have a different type of challenge. They're going to be developing different skills, different experiences. But it's great that they've an opportunity to put back into our game. We want more English coaches. We want, when in the future the England manager's job is available, we want lots of high quality candidates, whether they've played or not played. But there are obvious advantages for guys that have played in terms of the experiences that they can pass on once they've mastered all the other bits. So I'm really pleased to see it and wish them both well.
Steve Scott.
Gareth, do you think the fallout from Raheem's tattoo has the potential to be a damaging distraction so close to the tournament if it's not managed correctly?
Well, I think we always have to manage every situation as well as we possibly can, but things only become a distraction if we allow them to, and anything that's outside of the camp we can't control. We have to focus on what we do day to day, making sure we prepare as well as we can for the games, and the rest has to be noise outside that doesn't distract us from what we're here to do.
Do you think there's an agenda against your sport, Raheem in particular, from the outset?
Impossible for me to say because I don't know. I don't know how other people think and work. What we've seen this week are, the catalogue of stories that have been written, which I suppose when you're a high-profile young man or woman and you're in the public eye, you're going to be a lot of intrusion at times into your life. That's the world we're in. But I can only repeat what I said earlier. He's very focused on playing with us, working with us. He's a super talent. He's a really tough, mentally tough boy, and I really enjoy working with him. He's got a lovely sense of humour, and I think over the last few months we've talked in more recent England camps about how he's gaining confidence to come and speak in this sort of environment, and I think he's done that really well. I think people have seen the real person and a bit more of the character that's behind the player, and it's important he's been able to get his message and personality across. And I think for all of the lads, that's people judge them on very small experiences of them, and nobody really, other than your family and your close friends and your teammates, know you that well.
You've experienced that scrutiny before. You talked about it before the dental chair incident before '96. Have you been able to pass on your experience of that to this group?
Well, I try to balance giving them my experiences with not boring them with my life and what's led me to sit in this chair. So they're young men who, of course, we are all. If we're going to challenge ourselves and get better, we will all make mistakes as we go through our lives. We will all do things we regret. None of us are perfect. None of us get every decision we take right. So then it's how you react and respond to those difficult times that shapes where you end up in your life. And we talk a lot as a group about focusing on what we can control, particularly in this coming period, because we understand there'll be huge spotlight on us. We know that there's a lot of scrutiny, but we'd rather be involved in this and playing in a tournament with the pride of representing our country than to be sat on the beach doing something else at this time of year.
Gareth, you mentioned you'd had some deep conversations with Raheem. You felt that was necessary over this particular issue?
No, I talked to all of the players at length, because I think it's important as a coach that you get to know them and what makes them tick and what they're about as much as possible. And of course, as an international manager, you don't get as much time with the players as the club managers to have that personal contact. But it's really important to me to understand their motivations, their thoughts, their feelings on things, and to feed back to them on how we see them as players and as people. So that was nothing out of the ordinary, but of course when you've got a player who's been the centre of attention as has happened this week, then it's even more important to check how they are.
Was he upset about the incident?
He's, as I said, very focused. He completely understood why there might have been a perceived line on it, but he knows what he meant and what it means to him, and so he's comfortable that he's done nothing wrong, and so I think that gives you the freedom to feel that you can carry on and get on with things.
Do you have a code of conduct around this sort of stuff?
I don't like codes of conduct, because I don't know how you control every individual incident, and I think if you have a code of conduct, you're then under pressure to react to things that maybe you don't need to react to. So we have guidelines for the lads. We have respect for each other. It's the most important thing as a group. And of course, if we felt things needed addressing, we do it, and I have done it in the past. So, but I think the way that we operate here is a professional one. We treat the lads as mature adults, and I think they prefer that. I think they respond to that, and they know the line. And but at the same time, we want an environment where it's relaxed enough that we're going to a tournament. There's not millions of rules. We're here to enjoy ourselves. We're here to represent the country in the best way possible, and to play football and enjoy that.
Would this tattoo have fallen under those guidelines, and would it be the sort of thing that you might want to discuss with Raheem before you had it done?
I think the tattoo was done quite a few months ago, and I think there's a lot of pictures of him in Manchester City kit in the tattoo. So you have to decide why it's a story now and not when he's with Manchester City. But I go back to, I don't think it's my responsibility to decide if my kids want to have a tattoo, what they have. That is an individual decision, individual intent, very personal, and as you know, a lot of our players have tattoos, and a lot of the meaning is wrapped up in very deep stories and experiences, and completely personal. So my view would be that no, I don't see why we should be involved in policing that.
Gareth, I'm sure you'll be grateful for a football question.
I don't know, it depends what it is, really.
Is your team now clear in your head, and are these friendlies going to be used to finesse that team, or are we going to be seeing lots of changes tactically, formation and player-wise, or are you pretty much set now for the World Cup?
No, you won't see too many tactical changes, but there are things. These two matches are an opportunity for us to look at one or two players in certain positions, combinations of players. There's a physical aspect to the two games that certain players need minutes more than others. One or two who've missed bits of training either this week or over a longer period. So there's a lot of things weaved into how we will use the two games, and we've also got an internal game that we'll have at the end of that before we fly to Russia. So it won't be a case of the team tomorrow is the team that starts the first match. But we, as with all of the friendlies, we will use them for a specific purpose and changes within that to look at things that we might want to do in the summer.
Carrie?
Adam Lallana shared on social media about his season with Liverpool that he was gutted he hadn't been able to contribute more. Is he doing enough to prove to you that he could contribute to this England squad?
Well, Adam has only trained with us the last couple of days. We had several long conversations during the season. It was obviously a very hugely frustrating season for him. We know the quality that he has, and the last conversation I had with him ahead of naming the squad was that let's keep this alive for you. Let's see where we are in a couple of weeks' time. Who knows? You might play a significant part in a Champions League final, and that's exactly what happened. So we know there's a limitation in terms of how match fit he is. And that's why he has been a standby player, to give him time to improve that situation. But we'll have to assess that if there's an opportunity that arises. But of course, we hope for the 23 lads that are in the squad that isn't the case.
With the goalkeepers, are you going to solidify a number one shirt in these next two friendlies, or do you still want to see how all three work in the team?
Well, I think we will. We know what we want to see in that area of the field. We're clear on what we think, but also there's no need for me to say too much publicly on that, because the players across the board, I explained to them what we're using these two matches for, and I haven't named the team to them for tomorrow, but we have a very clear plan of how we want to use the matches.